Your blood type is checked before surgery, printed on military dog tags, and matched before transfusions. But that turns out to be the least interesting thing it predicts. In the last 2 decades, researchers have quietly linked blood type to heart disease, stroke, cancer risk, blood clot likelihood, and even COVID-19 severity. And the differences between blood types are large enough that if you don't know yours, you may be missing a meaningful piece of your own health picture. The ABO blood group system was discovered by Austrian physician Karl Landsteiner in 1901, a finding significant enough to earn him the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 1930. Blood type is determined by which antigens, specific carbohydrate molecules, sit on the surface of your red blood cells. Type A has A antigens, type B has B antigens, type AB has both, type O has neither. Each type also carries antibodies that attack the antigens it doesn't have, which is why transfusing the wrong blood type into someone can be rapidly fatal. Among people of European descent, roughly 44 to 46% are type O, 42 to 44% are type A, around 8 to 10% are type B, and 3 to 5% are type AB. These frequencies didn't settle randomly. They were shaped over millions of years by which blood types survived which infectious diseases in which parts of the world. And that deep evolutionary history is now showing up in modern disease risk data in ways that are hard to ignore. Start with the biggest killer, cardiovascular disease. A landmark 2012 study published in Arteriosclerosis, Thrombosis, and Vascular Biology drew on data from over 89,000 participants across 2 major American health cohort studies. Compared to type O, blood type AB carried approximately 23% higher risk of coronary heart disease. Type B came in at roughly 11% higher, and type A at approximately 5% higher than type O. These differences held up even after researchers fully adjusted for smoking, body weight, cholesterol levels, blood pressure, diabetes, and physical activity levels. That means blood type itself, independent of lifestyle, is a real contributor to the cardiovascular risk gap between types. The mechanism runs through a protein called von Willebrand factor, which plays a central role in blood clotting. People with non-O blood types circulate approximately 25 to 30% more von Willebrand factor than type O individuals. Higher von Willebrand factor means platelets aggregate more easily, blood coagulates faster, and the risk of arterial blockages increases. Type O individuals clear von Willebrand factor from their circulation faster, because without A or B antigens protecting the molecule, specific enzymes degrade it more quickly, keeping levels naturally lower. This gives type O a built-in cardiovascular advantage that no supplement or exercise program can fully replicate from the outside. But the heart disease story is only one part of this. For blood clots forming inside the veins, a condition called venous thromboembolism, which includes deep vein thrombosis and pulmonary embolism, the blood type effect is even more striking. Multiple large-scale studies and meta-analyses have found that people with non-O blood types face approximately 2 to 4 times the risk of venous thromboembolism compared to type O. A genome-wide association study published in the New England Journal of Medicine identified the ABO blood group locus as one of the most statistically significant genetic predictors of clot risk found anywhere in the human genome. To say that plainly, blood type is one of the most powerful genetic variables known to science for determining whether you will develop a potentially fatal blood clot. Now let's move to cancer. Blood type and cancer risk has been studied since the 1950s, and the most replicated association across dozens of independent studies involves type O and stomach cancer. People with blood type A have approximately 20% higher risk of developing gastric cancer compared to type O individuals. The likely mechanism involves how blood type antigens are expressed in the lining of the stomach, which influences how easily a bacterium called Helicobacter pylori can colonize and damage the stomach wall. H. pylori is the primary cause of most stomach cancers, and type A appears to give the bacteria a more effective surface to adhere to. For pancreatic cancer, the data points in a different direction. Type O individuals have approximately 30 to 40% lower pancreatic cancer risk than types A, AB, and B. Blood type AB has been associated in some studies with elevated risk of certain blood cancers, though those findings require broader replication to be considered settled. Type O, meanwhile, carries modestly elevated risk of duodenal ulcers, also H. pylori-driven compared to non-O types. So the same blood type that appears to protect your heart may carry slightly higher ulcer risk. No blood type is a clean winner across the board. The COVID-19 pandemic added a new chapter to blood type research with unusual speed. Early studies from China flagged that type O appeared associated with lower risk of testing, positive for SARS-CoV-2, and lower risk of severe disease. A genome-wide association study in the New England Journal of Medicine, covering large cohorts of severe COVID-19 patients in Italy and Spain, found type O was associated with approximately 45% higher risk of respiratory failure compared to non-A blood types. However, subsequent larger studies produced more mixed results, and the current scientific view is that blood type's effect on COVID-19 is real but modest compared to the impact of age, underlying conditions, and vaccination. One of the lesser-discussed findings connects blood type to cognitive decline in older adults. A study published in Neurology, using data from the Regards Project, which tracked thousands of American adults over time, found that blood type AB was associated with approximately 82% higher odds of cognitive impairment in older age. The mechanism is partly vascular. AB individuals carry the highest von Willebrand factor levels of any blood type, which puts them at elevated stroke risk, and stroke-related vascular damage is the second most common cause of dementia after Alzheimer's disease. Type O's protective effect on the cardiovascular system may therefore extend to protecting brain function across a lifetime, not just the heart. Now here is the evolutionary thread that ties all of this together. Blood type O is found at extremely high frequencies in populations from sub-Saharan Africa and historically malaria-heavy regions. In some indigenous American populations, it approaches 100%. The reason appears to be malaria. Plasmodium falciparum, the most lethal malaria parasite, causes infected and healthy red blood cells to clump together in a process called rosette formation, and this clumping drives the most severe and deadly forms of the disease. Type O individuals show approximately 3 to 4 times less of this dangerous clumping compared to non-O types, translating to substantially lower risk of fatal malaria. Over thousands of generations in malaria-endemic regions, that survival advantage pushed type O frequencies dramatically higher through natural selection. But the lower von Willebrand factor levels that protect type O from cardiovascular disease become a different kind of trade-off in populations no longer under malaria pressure. Different blood types evolved as different sets of trade-offs. No universally superior type, but each shaped by the historical disease pressures of different human populations over deep time. So what does all of this actually mean for you? Type O individuals carry measurably lower cardiovascular disease risk, lower stroke risk, lower pancreatic cancer risk, and likely meaningful malaria protection, alongside somewhat elevated venous clot risk and modestly higher ulcer vulnerability. Type A individuals face roughly 5% higher coronary heart disease risk than type O, approximately 20% higher stomach cancer risk, and early COVID data flagged elevated severe disease risk. Type B individuals show coronary heart disease risk roughly 11% higher than type O, and elevated clotting risk compared to type O. Type AB individuals carry the highest cardiovascular disease risk of any blood type, the highest von Willebrand factor levels, the highest cognitive decline odds in older age data, and the highest thromboembolism risk, while also being the universal plasma donor. The most important thing to hold on to is that these are population-level averages from studies of tens of thousands of people, not individual predictions. Lifestyle factors including diet, exercise, blood pressure management, and not smoking still outweigh blood type as determinants of actual disease risk for any specific person. But blood type is a real biological variable that influences multiple systems simultaneously: cardiovascular, oncological, neurological, and immunological, in ways that your doctor rarely has time to discuss. Knowing your blood type used to matter mainly if you needed an emergency transfusion. It turns out it may also quietly shape what you need to watch for across your entire life. If this changed how you think about what your own biology has already decided, the next video goes just as deep into what your body has been quietly predicting all along.